What is the most special thing that happened to you within the last 2 weeks? In my case, it's MeasureCamp in Berlin. A big shout out to everyone who made this happen and to all the participants. And I had a chance to make a presentation there, which inspired this video. I would love to share 7 things I've learned using GA4. So lesson number 1. One-to-one migration is not possible, especially within 1 hour. And this one is a real pain in the neck, I have to say, because many clients tend to think that it is possible. It simply isn't. And clients have to accept it, so we cannot feed them with empty promises about one-to-one migration. It is not possible technically. And I cannot say I feel enthusiastic about the word migration itself, because GA4 is a new tool with a different data model. And this is why correct expectations should be set at the very first moment we start talking about GA4 to our clients. And here you can see a nice checklist provided by Google. So this is a nice guide to check if your GA4 property is set up correctly. But the migration process itself is way more complex, and the clients tend to be in the dark area right now when it comes to implementation. And they trust us and rely on our knowledge and advice. And this is why correct expectations should be set at the very first moment we start talking about GA4. Okay, let's move to the second lesson, which is save your data once your GA4 account is created. And if we go to data settings and data retention, you can see that by default retention is 2 months. And if you do not change it to 14 months, you might lose some critical features. Don't be afraid, your standard reports will not be affected anyhow. But let's say you want to prepare for your annual final sale, looking back at the performance over the last few years. And this would not really be possible beyond the basic reports that are provided in the GA4 UI. But one of the options here, we can go beyond this limit by connecting GA4 to BigQuery. However, many clients feel somehow unconvinced to use it, maybe yet. Okay, lesson number 3. Goals migration tool is not very helpful, and this might be a very strong statement, but let's go back to our setup assistant. And here we have this tool. You can use this one. And this is exactly what I mean. Of course, you could use this for a quick migration of goals if you need something to be done immediately and at a kind of superficial level. But if you want to have control over your tracking, this is definitely not the best option. And many clients also tend to stick to the old event model, trying to recreate category, action, and label. I'm not sure which method you're using when you set up your event parameters. So please drop a line in the comments. I really want to know how you're approaching event implementation. And I really like the words Miko Pipo used in his LinkedIn post: declutter and refactor. So now we have a golden opportunity to audit our setups, identify what has value, and remove all the trash. So for example, we can replace custom HTML with templates in the tag manager or get rid of orphan variables. So it's a good chance to start from scratch and define a strategy. Okay, so lesson number 4. User ID should not be registered as a custom dimension, and we're using this feature at Magic School, and I implemented user ID around 1 year ago, and I added it as a custom dimension as I wanted to work with it in the Explore section. However, I ran into an issue then. I found this Google article, and as you can see, such dimensions like user ID should so-called high cardinality dimensions, and they should not be set up as custom dimensions, because this might have a negative impact on your reports, and specifically this might cause data to aggregate under the other row. And Google recommends to use the user ID feature. You can see it here. Well, let me know if someone also implemented user ID and how you approach this one. Lesson number 5. Event parameters might mysteriously not show up. So my colleague and I were troubleshooting a case, and we discovered an interesting thing. The parameters were set up in the GTM, yet nothing was showing up in the debug view. Why did this happen? Well, if you have a parameter set up here, but for some reason it has an undefined value, analytics will simply drop it. Or another reason could be if you go to analytics and if you use modify event feature here, let's go to configure, and this is exactly this one. And if you just set up something here, this will override the initial setup in the tag manager. So these are good points to know. Lesson number 6, you can customize your reporting interface in GA4. And this is a cool feature. So if we go to reports, here we have a library and we have a possibility to create our own collection or to edit the existing one. So for example, here you could remove some of the reports or you can add the reports you would love to have. So I think this is a super cool feature of GA4. Okay, so let's move to lesson number 7. And this one is tools and extensions can be true time savers. Of course, you can do the hardcore way and set up everything on your own, but there are so many tools and extensions being rolled out, and they are created to simplify our workflow. And I would love to show you one which I find extremely useful, and it's called Data GA4 Spy. And you can see that this is Google Analytics, Dimensions and Metrics cheat sheet. And I know metrics and dimensions can be kind of confusing in GA4, and to be honest, I don't know all dimensions and metrics by heart. And we are constantly getting questions from clients or also in the community. What is the source and what is session source in GA4? What is the difference between total users and active users? How is an engaged session determined? And this tool can be really helpful, because for example, we can click on any dimension here and you can get a description of this dimension, and you can also see if this dimension is available in Data Studio. So I think this is an amazing tool. So I hope you're enjoying your GA4 adventure. By the way, do you see my t-shirt? This is for the chosen ones only, for true GA4 and GTM enthusiasts. And you can also win one. Everything you have to do is to write a comment with 3 key findings based on your experience with GA4. And in 2 weeks, we will randomly select and announce the winners in one of our upcoming videos. So please give us thumbs up and see you next time.